One normal morning, Nurse Pia went to work as usual. The patient showed her a very unusual video. Inside was a white man with a bruised face. He held a sign saying that he had abused women. He also said that if this video reached 5 million views, he would die. The video quickly attracted everyone's attention, and the number of views kept increasing. Because they were curious about what he was doing, most netizens were also curious if the number of views really exceeded 5 million. Would that man die? Pia watched the video and was very surprised. It turned out that the person in the video was Pia's brother, Nick. Pia immediately contacted Nick and wanted to know what was going on, but Nick's phone was not answered. Pia quickly called Nick's wife, Sophie. Sophie was at school teaching, so she could not answer the phone for the time being. Pia had no choice but to drop her current work and run to Nick's workplace to find him. Meanwhile, Pia thought about last night. Yesterday was their mother's birthday. Pia and Nick had argued about the gift. Nick was angry, so he told Pia to go away. Actually, Pia and Nick had a good relationship, but she didn't know what had happened to Nick recently. He kept getting angry every now and then. When Pia heard Nick say that, she had no reason to stay. Pia angrily left the birthday party and went to the bar to drink to drown her sorrows. While going to the bathroom, Pia met a handsome guy. She had just said 2 sentences to him when her phone fell into the toilet. She could only take it home and put it in the rice bin. Then Pia took out her iPad to watch videos. Pia could not believe that yesterday Nick, who was arguing with her, appeared in the video. He was also threatened by someone else. Pia was extremely worried that what was written on the board was true. Then Pia's last memory of Nick was the two of them arguing. Pia really did not dare to think anymore. Pia went to Nick's workplace to find him, but today none of his colleagues saw him. Pia went to the university where Sophie was teaching and interrupted her class. Sophie was also very surprised when she saw the video. The number of views was constantly increasing. Pia contacted customer service to take the video down. Helpless, the two could only go to the police station to report the case. The last time Sophie saw Nick was around 6 a.m. this morning. Up to now, Nick has only been missing for 5.5 hours, so the police could not file a case. But when observing Nick's video and the words on the board, the police still arranged for an investigator to take over the case. Coincidentally, the investigator was the person Pia had met last night, Roshan. The most important thing at the moment was to find Nick. The two of them did not mention what happened last night. Nick was a physical therapy teacher at a university. He worked at a fitness center. He had a very gentle personality and had never offended anyone. He had brought his phone with him when he went out this morning, but now they could not contact him. After Roshan learned of the situation, he said that he would try to handle it quickly. At this time, the number of views on the video had reached 300,000. At this rate, surpassing 5 million was really just a matter of time. As the number of views increased, so did the number of comments. Netizens basically didn't care about how Nick was doing now. They just based on the words on the board and judged Nick as a bad guy. Almost all the comments were telling Nick to die. Before the police could find any clues, the second video was posted. This time, the words on the board had changed. Nick said he had killed a woman. If that was the case, the complexity of this case would change. The police couldn't continue investigating the missing person case, but instead a murder case. They even suspected that Nick was a violent person. This made Pia furious. They were the victims now, and now they were being questioned. If the police couldn't find Nick, they should immediately take down this video. From now on, unless the police discovered anything new, don't bother Pia anymore. Pia then left the police station with Sophie. Sophie suddenly received a call from a reporter. Pia took out her phone to check, and the views had already reached 1.5 million. Moreover, it was increasing rapidly. The unscrupulous reporters naturally couldn't ignore this kind of news. They immediately found Nick's relatives' phone numbers and kept harassing Sophie. Police Roshan had said that the video was posted overseas, so the police had no right to intervene. Seeing that the views were increasing crazily, Pia went to find a friend who was very good at computers. Although this friend couldn't take down the video, he could post a distress call, hoping that netizens could help Nick. Not long after, a netizen actually brought a credible piece of news through the video. There was a sticker in the video. This sticker could only appear on a certain type of truck. This type of car is an old model. Currently in their city, there are only 1,000. Although the range is still very large, Pia still immediately gave this clue to Roshan. Pia asked Roshan to help find that car, but this is against the rules, so Pia could only wait outside the police station. During that time, Pia kept watching the views. Every time she reloaded, the views increased to several 100,000. When Pia reloaded the video, the views had already exceeded 5 million. Pia was extremely panicked. At this moment, Roshan investigated a clue. A patrol car saw a similar type of truck under the bridge. The police immediately arrived at the scene. When they opened the truck's cargo box to see, the arrangement was exactly the same as in the video, but they were still a step too late. They could not find any trace of Nick. Perhaps the killer had known and had changed his position deposition beforehand. There were many reporters surrounding the scene. They all wanted to be the first to report on this. The person in charge could only promise to publish an official notice at 9 a.m. tomorrow. They hoped that reporters would not disturb the police in solving the case. Due to the special circumstances of the case, the director decided to officially transfer this case to the homicide investigation team. Roshan was in the missing person investigation team and wanted to offer his help. However, due to the different nature of the case, the head of the homicide investigation team refused to let Roshan participate. However, Roshan was not someone who could easily crawl on his own, so he went to Pia to negotiate. Roshan told Pia to go to the police station and request that he participate in this case, because as long as his family appointed Roshan as the contact person, he would be able to continue the investigation. As a trade, Roshan would immediately share the progress of the investigation with Pia. Having one more person meant more effort, so of course Pia did not refuse. Since Nick's video appeared on the search trend, a Nick search software appeared online. Netizens could mark the searched areas in red on the search map to avoid the next person searching the same place. Many people downloaded this software, but most of them did not care about Nick's quality of life. Some people wanted to take advantage of this situation to gain some fame for themselves. Some wanted to buy and sell machinery. Roshan, who worked diligently, also started searching for Nick's whereabouts on the software. During that time, Roshan told the director about his online conversation with Pia. After confirming that Roshan could be serious about this case, the director agreed to let him continue investigating. The people in the homicide investigation team couldn't sit still anymore because Roshan could always find evidence that the investigation team missed. In order for Roshan to remember clearly, the team leader pasted his picture all over the place where he sat. Roshan didn't understand why he only investigated one case, but the team leader hated him so much. The reason was that Roshan hid information, and he was also arrogant and completely disregarded other people's feelings. In the team leader's eyes, Roshan wanted to solve this case to get promoted. Roshan didn't object to this statement. After work, Roshan continued to look for Nick. Under Roshan's constant efforts, there was finally only a small area left. That night, Roshan drove to this area. A notification suddenly appeared in the software that someone had found Nick. Roshan immediately went to the marked location. There were quite a few people at the scene. After chasing those people away, Roshan saw a body by the lake. That person was Nick in the video. It seemed that Nick really kept his promise if the number of views exceeded 5 million. Roshan brought his tired body to Pia's house to inform her of Nick's death. Pia was extremely sad. Roshan was the first to find Nick's body, so he was considered to have made a great contribution. Roshan was allowed to join the murder investigation team as he wished, but Roshan could not be happy because a life had been lost. When Roshan investigated Nick's wife's social media account, he accidentally discovered a photo of Sophie talking to a strange man. Roshan had an impression of this man. When Roshan went to Pia to find out the situation, she said that Nick's previous actions were a bit strange. Nick even went to the hospital to bandage his wound. Pia asked Nick what happened, but he refused to say. In order to find out more about Nick's injury, Roshan investigated Nick's route on the day he was injured. Roshan discovered that Nick had gone to a bar. The bar's camera showed that Nick had been beaten by a man that day. That man was the one who talked to Sophie. All suspicion fell on Sophie. Roshan immediately interrogated Sophie. Roshan showed the video from the bar and asked Sophie if she recognized the man. Sophie again denied it. The next photo was the scene where Sophie was talking to the man. The evidence was before her eyes, so she could only admit that the man was her colleague. The last time they met was 6 months before that colleague resigned. But was that really the truth? Of course not. Actually, this man was Curtis, Sophie's lover. 6 months ago, Sophie couldn't bear the guilt in her heart, so she told Nick about her affair. This was also the reason why Nick acted strangely during that time. After Nick found out, it was hard for him to accept, but because he loved his wife so much, the two of them didn't divorce. They decided to make up for their broken marriage. But Sophie didn't expect that Curtis had secretly met Nick. Moreover, Curtis also beat Nick. This made Sophie unable to help but suspect that Nick's nature was related to Curtis. After Sophie left the police station, she immediately went to Curtis. Sophie wanted to know if Nick's death had anything to do with Curtis. Before Curtis could answer, the doorbell rang. It was the police with a search warrant. The moment Sophie left the police station, the police had someone follow her. That's how they found Curtis. Later, the police found evidence on Curtis's computer that he had followed Nick. The next thing the police need to do is find more evidence to prove that Curtis kidnapped Nick. At that time, Sophie must come forward to testify about their relationship. But once she testifies, Sophie's affair will be exposed. Actually, without waiting for the time to testify, she was already photographed by reporters. The story of Sophie's affair has already spread online. Her 2 sons are also prejudiced against her. A woman suddenly came to Sophie and said that she was Nick's lover. They met 6 6 months ago on a dating forum. She lives in Los Angeles. When Sophie heard about 6 months ago in Los Angeles, she immediately couldn't calm down. 6 months ago was when Sophie told about her affair. Could it be that Nick went to find another woman to take revenge on Sophie? Actually, it was possible, because Nick had been going to Los Angeles for a while. Sophie immediately explained this to Pia. Pia didn't believe it, so she found Nick's social media account. Pia discovered that the account was registered 2 years ago. What did this prove? It was clear that Nick had started having an affair 2 years ago. Nick had an affair even earlier than Sophie. The police confirmed that Curtis's evidence was not at the scene, so they released him. If Nick's death had nothing to do with Curtis, then who killed him? Nick's lover, Emma, immediately went to Auckland after learning that he had been murdered. Emma found Sophie and explained the story of the two of them to her. Then Emma took the initiative to go to the police station to give clues. According to Emma, the two of them started to know each other 6 months ago. Their relationship continued until before Nick died. Nick treated Emma very well, and he never used violence. Emma confirmed that the words on the sign were fake. Emma was in Los Angeles on the morning of Nick's disappearance. Emma's friends can testify. After Emma finished questioning her, she prepared to go to the place where Nick used to live to feel it a little. Normally, two people who are far apart can only communicate over the phone. There are very few opportunities to meet. This time, Emma came to Nick's city and wanted to follow his every step. First, Emma went to the university where Nick worked. After Emma entered Nick's office, she forcefully sniffed the clothes he wore. It seemed that Nick was next to Emma. Sophie was also not comfortable. Sophie had to endure the pain of Nick cheating on her and was also scolded by netizens. Not only did they not reveal Sophie's phone number, they also leaked her credit card information. At the same time, Pia sought revenge on Emma. In Pia's mind, Nick could not have had an affair. Pia still did not understand Nick well enough. Nick had told Emma that his marriage was not happy. He would divorce his wife and start a new family with Emma after his eldest son graduated from high school. Nick also often mentioned Pia to Emma, so Emma knew that Pia was very important to Nick. Pia could not say anything. Pia only saved Emma's phone number so that she could easily find her later. Emma was immersed in grief over Nick's departure. Suddenly, Emma received a call from a stranger. The other party had been monitoring Emma for a long time and knew which hotel and which room she was staying in. This person also advised Emma to leave quickly or else nothing good would come of it. This scared Emma. She immediately called the police. After that, she quickly packed up and left the hotel. Emma originally intended to drive to find Pia for help, but a black car was following her. The other party drove up and hit Emma's car, forcing her to crash into the side of the road. Then, the car drove away. Emma was quickly taken to the hospital. Roshan came to find out the situation. The person who called and threatened Emma was a man. During the chase, Emma could not see the other party's face clearly. After that, Emma was stabbed to the side of the road. If the police needed her, Emma could go to the police station to assist in the investigation. Roshan quickly rejected Emma's good intentions and told her to rest well. It seemed that Emma's appearance had threatened someone. It was very clear that the person did not want the police to know that Nick had a lover. Is it possible that person is also Nick's lover? Why did the police make such a judgment? Because the police investigated and found out that Nick also had other accounts on the dating platform. Nick's flirting skills can be said to be top-notch. One platform is a mistress. When he gets bored, he will delete the account. The words he says to his mistresses are all exactly the same. So far, 3 women have been investigated. One of them is also in Los Angeles. Emma immediately returned to Los Angeles to find that woman. The promises Nick made to each woman are exactly the same. The woman named Mandy is quite smart. Mandy knew at first glance that Nick was a playboy. Only Emma was stupid enough to trust Nick. After Emma learned the truth, she was extremely angry. Emma decided to expose Nick's behavior to the media. So Emma contacted a male reporter she met in front of Nick's house. After interviewing Emma, reporter Ben was very happy. Since Nick's video was posted, everyone has been digging into it. Ben proudly went to his superiors to inform them of the news. The leader was very happy and told Ben to persuade Sophie to do an interview. Sophie was currently very disgusted with reporters, so it was difficult for Ben to convince her. Ben saw his colleague ordering food in his heart and came up with a plan. Ben pretended to be a delivery man and broke into Nick's house. Then Ben took out his phone to take pictures. Ben also told Sophie that Emma had agreed to be interviewed. Sophie was immediately angry. After chasing Ben away, Sophie sent a lawyer to Ben's company. Sophie wanted Ben's boss, Dakota, not to broadcast Emma's interview or she would sue the TV station. Sophie couldn't stop them from reporting the news unless she agreed to the interview. Dakota knew that Sophie's family was being harassed by the media every day. If Sophie agreed to the interview and spoke out her stance, the media wouldn't bother her anymore. Sophie wanted her family to live in peace, so this was the only way. Finally, Sophie agreed to this proposal. In that case, all of Ben's efforts would be in vain. Because of Ben's recklessness, Dakota assigned the interview to another reporter for Sophie. Sophie. But Ben didn't give up. If he could dig into Nick's other lovers and persuade them to come forward and name Nick, it would be valuable information. Moreover, it's possible that among those lovers there was the murderer who killed Nick. If so, Ben could also help the police solve the case. Ben started looking for Nick's information on the friendship forum. Then Ben found an account that Nick used. Although the account was discontinued, the information was still there. Ben spent a large sum of money to buy back that information. It contained Nick's usage history. As long as Ben found out who had contacted Nick and then found out who sent the most messages, there was a chance that he could ask the other person out. A blonde girl named Maggie caught Ben's attention. The number of times Maggie sent messages to Nick was up to 893 times. Based on the conversation content, Maggie was probably one of Nick's lovers. Maggie was in the neighboring city, but Maggie did not use her real name. If Ben wanted to find Maggie, he could not follow her. Fortunately, Ben had a reliable boyfriend, Cameron. Cameron opened Maggie's profile picture. The photo was taken at a bookstore. Ben immediately searched for that bookstore on the map. There were a total of 26 bookstores in the city where Maggie lived. Based on the bookshelf behind Maggie, it could be ruled out that it was a romance, comic, or children's bookstore. They quickly found a retro bookstore and immediately went there. The owner recognized Maggie. Unfortunately, Maggie had passed away 4 months ago. He didn't know the cause of Maggie's death. He told them that they could ask Maggie's brother. The two of them followed the address the owner gave them. They drove to Maggie's brother's house. Cameron waited in the car while Ben went to look for Maggie's brother alone. When Ben entered, he found that no one was home. So Ben started looking for the key in front of the door. Ben actually found it. Ben broke into the house and saw a box on the bed. Inside was a phone. Ben had just taken out his phone when Maggie's brother Simon returned. While Simon was not paying attention, Ben left. Simon found out, but in the end, he still couldn't catch up with them. Simon watched them get in the car and run away. Cameron was unhappy because Ben's behavior was illegal. After they returned, Ben successfully unlocked Maggie's phone. Inside was a chat log with Nick. Ben immediately took this information to negotiate with Dakota. The task of interviewing Sophie must be given to Ben. Otherwise, Ben would sell this exclusive information to his opponent. Dakota could only agree with Ben. The time came for the interview. While Sophie was unaware, Ben told her that a girl who often talked to Nick committed suicide. The content of their last conversation showed that Nick wanted to break up with that girl. She did not agree, so she threatened Nick with death. Unexpectedly, Nick did not soften his heart and told the girl to die. That girl already suffered from depression. When she heard Nick's words, she committed suicide. Sophie could not believe it when the chat log was shown. The interview was interrupted but did not affect the broadcast. The next day, Sophie's interview was broadcast. The whole family was very worried. Could it be that Nick, who usually looked so kind and warm, really killed Maggie? When Roshan saw the news, he immediately went to Simon to find out the situation, but Simon did not know anything. Simon did not know Maggie talked to Nick. Simon did not know that the two knew each other. Simon and Maggie's relationship was not that good. Last week, Simon had a day off and did not go to Auckland, but he made an appointment to go fishing with his friends. As soon as Roshan left, Simon immediately thought of Maggie. Both of their parents died when they were young. They grew up in a family without love. Such a life caused Maggie to suffer from depression. Then Maggie met Nick online. Nick's warmth and kindness helped Maggie's depression to stabilize, but the happy situation did not last long. Nick gradually lost his patience with Maggie. Sometimes he even scolded her. This made Maggie's condition worse. Simon knew that Maggie was suffering from love, but he had no way to help. Seeing Maggie's miserable appearance, he heartbrokenly hugged her. It seemed that Simon had lied. After Simon got off work, he immediately went to his friend to check his statement. Simon emphasized 3 times that on the day Nick was kidnapped, they went fishing together. It seems that Simon really has a problem. So what happened to Simon? 4 months ago, Simon received a phone call from Maggie. Maggie kept apologizing to Simon. Simon felt something was wrong, so he went to Maggie's house, but he was still 1 step too late. Maggie was dead. Meanwhile, Simon accidentally saw Maggie's phone. Maggie miserably begged Nick, but he ignored her. He even told her to go die. Simon was extremely angry. Through the photo on Maggie's phone, Simon found the university where Nick worked. Then Simon and his friends hid on the way to work and kidnapped Nick. Simon did not allow Nick to talk and forced him to write on the board. After Simon recorded the video, he immediately posted it online. Simon wanted everyone to know that Nick was a bad guy. No matter how Nick explained, Simon did not believe it from beginning to end. But was Nick's death really related to Simon? Since the news of Maggie's death broke out, Nick's family has been harassed by more and more people. Sophie even took away all of Nick's photos. In order to prove Nick's innocence, Pia went to the neighboring city that night. Pia prepared to investigate with Roshan. The next day, Roshan invited Simon to the police station to give a statement. Simon was so worried that when Roshan wasn't paying attention, he turned around and ran away. Roshan turned around and chased Simon. Roshan finally caught Simon in a dead-end dead-end alley. When confronted by the police, Simon only said that he wanted to talk to Pia. The moment Simon saw Pia, he finally collapsed. It turned out that after Simon cornered Nick, he insisted that he didn't know Maggie. Nick had never had a relationship with Maggie. Simon found a photo of Nick and his sister together, but Simon didn't realize it. Their father died in front of Nick and Pia. The two of them were so traumatized that they understood that feeling very well, so Nick couldn't force Maggie to die. Nick asked Simon to let him look at the photo again. Nick clearly remembered that the photo was a photo he took with his wife on vacation. But why did it turn into a photo with Maggie? If you look closely, you can see that the horizon in the photo is not straight. It was obviously Photoshop. Simon looked closely, and it was true. But based on just one photo, Simon couldn't trust Nick. After all, Maggie was Simon's real sister. In Simon's eyes, his sister's words were of course more trustworthy than outsiders. In the chaos, the number of views on the video had exceeded 5 million. Daryl, who was taking part in the photo shoot with Simon, just thought about killing someone and felt a little excited. At this moment, Daryl opened the door of the truck. Nick kicked Daryl and ran away. Daryl reminded Simon that Nick had seen their faces, so they had to kill Nick. Nick assured Simon that he would definitely find the real culprit who killed Maggie. Because Nick already knew who had impersonated him, Nick promised that he would definitely take that person to the police station. Simon finally let Nick go. Simon had no idea where Nick had gone. It was only when Simon saw the news of Nick's death that he realized he had arrested the wrong person. Roshan did not believe Simon. Roshan thought that Simon was just trying to escape punishment. Pia and Roshan had different thoughts. Pia felt that Simon was telling the truth. If Nick was really impersonated, then what about Emma's previous lover? According to Emma, Nick would come to Los Angeles every now and then. The photo could be Photoshop, but how could a real person be fake? Thinking of this, Roshan once again interrogated Nick's two lovers in Los Angeles. One of them admitted that they had only chatted online and had never met. Another insisted that she had a relationship with Nick. This had some hidden meaning. No matter what, Simon's kidnapping was true. As for whether Nick killed Nick or not, further investigation was needed. If what Simon said was true, then the person impersonating Nick must be very familiar with Nick. Otherwise, he would be able to accurately describe Nick's work, family, and other things in life. Who could be so familiar with Nick? Except for an elderly relative, there was no one else. Sophie had been ruled out. Pia was even less likely. The only suspicious person was Nick's eldest son, Ethan. Since the incident with Nick, Ethan had been very calm. Ethan kept talking to his online friend. Ethan also reported all the news at home to the netizens. As long as it was related to Nick, Ethan would tell his online friend in detail. Whenever there was any new news, he would immediately contact Ethan. He asked Ethan about things related to Nick. The two of them talked every day. Even when he was at the police station to hear about Nick's case, Ethan told his online friend. On the way back, Ethan kept chatting with this person. Pia asked who Ethan was talking to and how they met. When Pia heard that they met online, she was very excited. Something had happened to Nick, and Ethan still dared to talk to strangers online. Ethan quickly explained that the two of them had met before. Thanks to Pia's reminder, Ethan immediately became alert. Ethan immediately became a police officer. Ethan looked back at their chat history and seemed to understand something. The culprit couldn't be this person. This person kept talking to Ethan. Then he used Ethan to know the progress of the police investigation. Thinking of this possibility, Ethan immediately made an appointment to meet this friend. At first, the other person was very resistant. Not knowing why, he later agreed to Ethan's appointment. Ethan went to check and found that this online friend was quite normal, not like the bad person Ethan imagined. This person's name was Allison. Allison suffered from anxiety syndrome, which was also a fear of social interaction. Allison stayed home alone for a long time. Allison went online to contact the outside world. After Allison saw Ethan on the news, she sympathized with what he was going through. So Allison found a way to contact Ethan. It was simply out of concern. Allison wanted to do her best to help Ethan. After Allison learned that Nick was impersonated, she asked Ethan to call Emma. Although the police had questioned Emma, it was possible that she had lied to the police. But Ethan was not like that because he was Nick's son after all. Emma had wanted to marry Nick. After the video call, Emma still said the same thing. She said that she had a relationship with Nick. But when Ethan played Nick's previous recording, Emma was very surprised. Emma panicked for a few seconds and finally told the truth. It turned out that Emma had never met Nick. The relationship was all because she was lying to them. Ethan and Allison were very surprised. It seemed that someone had really impersonated Nick. Allison at home found the IP address through the photo. Ethan immediately contacted Emma and asked her to send some photos with Nick. Ethan then forwarded them to Allison. Allison quickly found the address. Unfortunately, Ethan was looking for his mother at the time and did not see the message. Coincidentally, Ethan's younger brother Kai accidentally saw this message. After Kai learned that this person impersonated his father and killed his father, he took a baseball bat and went to the location on the map. Kai knocked on this person's door. The person person who opened the door was an aunt. Kai recognized this person as Nick's colleague and superior named Dawn. When Kai saw this person, he felt like he had been tricked by Ethan's brother. Kai was about to leave when Dawn's husband, Ed, appeared. Dawn invited Kai inside to sit for a while, and then she would tell Ed to drive Kai home. Kai did not suspect anything and went inside. From Kai's words, they knew that he had followed the address of the photo to find here. The two of them used the excuse of going to get something. Ed took out a gun from the closet, preparing to deal with Kai. Could it be that Dawn was the one who impersonated Nick? 2 years ago, when Nick first came to college to work, Dawn, the HR manager, gave Nick an application form. Dawn told Nick to fill it out himself. Unexpectedly, Nick didn't know how to use a computer. Nick told Dawn the password and asked Dawn to do it for him. Dawn easily synchronized it with Nick's phone. Nick's memory was bad, so all the passwords were the same. As soon as Dawn set up the password, Nick's dating app received a new message. Nick had downloaded the dating app, but he hadn't been flirting with girls. After Dawn saw the message, she couldn't calm down. After Dawn got home, she used the password that Nick told her that morning. Dawn logged into the dating app. Seeing Nick's handsome photo, Dawn seemed to remember her youth. Dawn felt extremely lonely. Normally, Dawn played cards to kill time. When Dawn got Nick's account password, she started impersonating Nick. Dawn kept on flirting online. Gradually, one platform was not enough to meet her needs, so she registered for many other platforms. Dawn used Nick's photo as her profile picture and fooled other girls. But just typing alone could not make online friends trust her. When a friend called, Dawn would use a voice changer to talk. While talking, Dawn even imagined Nick being intimate with that person. Ever since Dawn impersonated Nick, her expression became very good. Ed felt something was wrong, so he opened Dawn's computer. Only then did Ed discover that Dawn was flirting online. Ed could not accept such perverted behavior. Ed scolded Dawn and left the house. At this time, Maggie sent a message saying that she was not feeling well and wanted Nick to comfort her. Dawn was heartbroken at the time, so she was in no mood to comfort Maggie. Dawn was angry and wanted to cut off contact with Maggie and even told Maggie to die. Maggie suffered from depression and committed suicide. After Simon saw the chat history, he misunderstood that Nick did it, so Simon kidnapped Nick and recorded the video. Later, Nick said that he knew who the real culprit was, so Simon let him go. After Nick escaped from Simon, he immediately went to Dawn because he confirmed that person impersonating him was her. He only told her about his wife's affair. Moreover, Dawn also knew Nick's password. Nick wanted to take Dawn to the police station to confess. Ed hit Nick once from behind. Seeing that Nick was still conscious, Ed hit Nick again until Nick was completely dead. That was the truth. Time returned to the present. When Kai came to the door, the two of them felt something was wrong. In order to hide their crime, the two of them tricked him into getting in the car and preparing to kill Kai. At the same time, Sophie looked for Kai but found out that he was not in the room. Sophie immediately contacted Pia. After Ethan saw the address, he realized that Kai had gone to find the killer. They immediately went to Dawn's house, but they were still a step too late. Dawn had already taken Kai away. Luckily, during that time, Pia had called the police. There were more witnesses who saw Dawn and Ed's car near Montalvo. Dawn had a vacant lot there. The police immediately went to Montalvo and arrested Dawn on the spot. Ed took Kai hostage. Luckily, Dawn realized her mistake, so she advised her husband to let Kai go. Seeing the scene before her eyes, Ed burst into tears and pushed Kai away. But Ed raised his gun and aimed at Kai. Roshan saw that and just shot. So the truth about the 5 million view video was finally revealed. Pia also stopped blaming Sophie for her affair. Pia hugged Sophie tightly. The movie ended here. Thank you everyone for watching. See you next time.